a doctor set. Do you have any extra paper?
I don't, I'm sorry. There's like some paper on this.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. The app is set. Let me know when you are.
I'm good. Give me a second.
Are we sure this is the app?
There's another 1AR.
Yeah.
Well, now you know what I was prepping. I knew this would happen at some point. Alright, one sec. Cool. Alright. Now it's sent.
Okay, this looks more like an app.
Alright. Is everyone good?
Sorry, 1 second. I just, it's open.
Oh, Megan, I forgot to ask. You're cool with being recorded first and now too? Okay.
Overview, interpretation. Egypt is an authoritarian regime, is classified as an authoritarian regime according to the IU Democracy Index. The table is in the document. Second, Africa's 1AR3, A point. I 1AR needs to check against infantry abusive entities. After 1AR3, that could be 50. Condo picks the will lose every time. B point, reciprocity. 1C is the ability to operate and go for theory. Absent 1AR3, creates an reciprocal 2-to-1. Verdict working on an infinitely excuse furnace in the 1AR. C point, times can become 6-1 and the 2AR since I cover multiple layers, makes it impossible to win absent some sort of rectifying tool. The advantage. Trump's collapsing human rights credibility, returns authoritarian backsliding. Action is key to signal strong support for international rights. And also, 17th removal of human rights leadership response to action, not rhetoric without control, authoritarianism on the rise in China, Russia, Turkey, the Philippines, Hungary, intact in the Middle East and Africa, backsliding like to accelerate rights defenders in the international support orders of international human rights will attribute the best way to preserve America's global human rights leadership is demonstrate the U.S. government and claim the global leadership are strong enough that withstand this term. But the administration recently okayed $195 million in military aid to Egypt, propping up Sisi's brutal dictatorship. 2 impacts versus mass corruption, torture, human rights violations, and instability in the region. All Aryan 18 recent decisions released $195 million in military aid to Egypt. Plus, has 5 experts for security forces, lock of Bruce labeled dissidents, courts of handed out mass death sentences, 8 versus conflict support of a regime more authoritarian than remote aiders for Egypt to procure defense equipment and training from the U.S. The government has society right to choking all criticism under Sisi's thousands of political dissidents, killed tens of thousands in prison, and hundreds of thousands of exiles, making death sentences in ways and needs of a far worse than has ever been. Passed laws criminalizing for free media and advocacy for human rights. And Sisi's destroying Egypt, killing its economy, and ensuring a collapse in the near future. Economic collapse ensures that the violence continues for decades. Hamed 1220 under Sisi, the country continues to spiral into paranoia, repression, and violence hidden more. The Sinai Peninsula, there is a begun humanitarian crisis on a falling scale. Egyptian society is being crushed. Egyptian judiciary system turned around. Prominent figures have become visible, disappear. The West has gone quiet. Sisi has found a friend in Trump. The economy continues to collapse into a racial future. Widespread violence looking increasingly likely. Conditions will continue to worsen. And the second impact, unchecked military resistance to Egypt, expedites radicalization and terrorism, influence the main purpose to provide the aid in the first place. All Aryan Two Egyptian military has been fighting insurgency for years. Groups allied to Al-Qaeda and ISIS have been trying to trust themselves as extreme groups to use Egypt prison to recruit members. ISIS recruiters roam around the prison, freely level of oppression, expedite the process of radicalization, and possibly for non-state terror outweighs every other impact scenario. Global economic decline, increased conflict, rising poverty, even nuclear war are equivalent with police 18. The detonation of a nuclear arrest when non-state actors is plausible. There's evidence of the list mark for the nucleus of materials that are silos in terms of potential buyers, no country position, nukes and guarantee full protection against terrorism or smuggling small primitive bomb would cause catastrophe, death toll, 23,000 global national security, economy, international governments, political systems, behavior, governments, and individuals put under trial, increase in global distrust, mark rising tensions, 2% fall in global GDP, 30 million more poverty restrictions on personal freedoms. The plan. The result, the United States ought not provide military aid to the Arab Republic of Egypt. PHR 921. PHR expressed in terms of the U.S. will restate military assistance to Egypt. Withholding of military assistance is important to the U.S. can advocate for human rights reforms. The U.S. endorses ongoing human rights abuse. The U.S. will withhold military assistance until Egyptian authorities and these tactical or hold all perpetrators accountable. And the military controls everything it needs. So choking its funding provides immediate turnaround, hard tongue. 18. Lasting impacts of the military's influence over the Egyptian state. The military's role in the economy is thought to be between 40 and 60%, includes business involved nearly every sector. And military aid kills U.S. leverage in Egyptian politics and greenlight CC's policies, only withholding aid solves all. Arian 3 sends all the wrong signals to Egyptian generals that rhetoric on human rights and lip service and greenlight to carry on repressive policies. Versus the U.S. is relinquishing leverage and had to influence policy in the fate of prisoners. The U.S. has leverage over Egypt with regards to human rights policies. Withholding aid was starting to have impact on the U.S. to show that it doesn't care, and conditioning doesn't work. U.S. loopholes in Egypt has never suffered from it. Hard tongue. 2 is that reprogramming the administration using its national security waiver to allow the release of funds used at a later date. Congress continued to condition U.S. military aid, but the national security waiver was allowed aid to flow with middle rubber customs for Egypt agreements that allow for U.S. aid to be spent on economic activities within Egypt. Help perpetuate military run business that lack transparency and framework. Pleasure and pain are intrinsically valuable. People consistently guard pleasure and pain as good reasons for action, despite the fact that pleasure doesn't seem to be instrumentally valuable for anything. Moen 16, there's something unalive good about pleasure, unalive about pain. I might as well for pleasure, not good for anything further. We never ask what does end. Doesn't mean please because pleasure is worthy. In itself, pleasure and pain, the world is very recent. Underlying matters of value. Moreover, all the pleasure and pain are intrinsically valuable. All other values can be explained with reference to pleasure. Outcomes, razor requires us to treat these as intrinsically valuable. Moen 2 additional intrinsic values can be explained as things are remote pleasure, never pain, life, constant activity, bring about pleasures, ontologically costly deposit of around the intrinsic values of this value. So all values of explanation by a single intrinsic value in this value, we have reason to direct more complicated accounts. Thus, the standards maximize mental well-being preferred. Additionally, actor specificity 8 points, techniques, aggregates, and policies benefit some and harm others. Second traits, freeze actions. B point, no activism distinction. In this case, the states are responsible for the public spirit in action. Is implicit authorization of actions that they have to approve or reject every bill. C point, no intent, force, distinctions, actions are for prediction for mental states. The consequences are collective. The will of states lack wills and intentions. Policies are collective action that outweighs and different moral agents have different standings and ethical obligations that also means no util calculations. A, there are apparently denied governments use it all the time. B, pleasure is aggregated since goodness is relative to everyone. It boils down to brain chemicals firing, and that's just mean usual is hard to use, not that it's wrong. Second is parameters. Framework can be defined what obligations are, that means it's also atomicality issues. We have to theoretically find our interpretation definitions. Should be something that theoretical connotation the same way. In other words, we prefer our interpretation because of topic literature. Most articles are written through the lens of utopia because they're crafted from policymakers and the general public who take consequences to be important, not philosophy majors. Key to fairness and education literature is where we do research and determines how we engage in the round phrases, devote us to the competitive activity, vote for the better debate or not cheater. This is a framework or not a reason to drop the debater. Underview. First, scenario planning is empowering and key to deconstructing biases and advocacy skills. Barma and all 16 analysis can immerse the system making the future states bring take advantage of opportunities of close guard trends, alternative worlds, good scenarios, line system policy propositions, application makes our analysis use of the ability of decision makers to imagine by existing mental modes and cognitive bias scenarios, help individuals break out of mental modes of thinking to envision their right, adapt to something different from the present participants or strategies for rewarding failures and creativity for anticipating and understanding international affairs. 2. Prefer high probability low magnitude scenarios over big scale disadvantages overestimate high magnitude scenarios. Code 13 are realistic scenarios and ability to engage systemic impacts when we replicated the role policy assessment by introduced argument starts at 100% distance or undertaken by hundreds of discrete assumptions. Only a handful of understanding the assumption bring conclusions down to 0. There's bad understanding of probability to risk and this starts at very low level even before the outcome was a direct response and reduce the risk of predictions to 0. The world of complicated predictions are hard and most people are wrong.
Okay, so in your radicalization impact, the all-Aryan evidence says that when repression in prisons increased, that increased radicalization. Why is that true about the military?
Sure. So this sort of relies on the internal understanding of the rest of the act. So the act indicates that the CC regime throws thousands of dissidents into prison. The only reason the CC regime exists in the status quo is because the U.S. continues to fund his military, which props him up and silences all dissidents. The internal link to terror is that when CC throws people in jail.
So like the military gets a little bit of like cash and like weapon support. Why does that mean that prison guards are going to be active?
So a couple of things. One, the evidence would indicate that it's not just like a little bit of cash. A lot of the Egyptian military exists only thanks to U.S. funding. 2 is that it's
right, but how does like strengthening the capabilities of the military mean that the behavior of prison guards gets worse?
It's not about prison guards. The
Well,
radicalization.
your evidence literally is about prison guards. So
It's,
explain your
no,
evidence.
our evidence, the all-area evidence indicates that in prisons, when Sisi throws dissidents to his regime in prison, there are people like ISIS recruiters and Al-Qaeda recruiters in those prisons. They radicalize the people who are angry about their voices being silenced, which leads to
But then if
terrorism.
they're just like recruiters waiting in the prison, what does aid have to do with any of that? If it's
Sure.
completely independent
So,
of
the reason that people go to prison is because of the Sisi regime. Absent a sort of authoritarian regime in Egypt, thousands of people would not be going to prison for no
This seems very
reason.
much like correlation, not causation. So like explain why there's a direct causation.
Sure, so the causation is that the Sisi regime only exists and is only capable of throwing thousands of people in jail because the US funds it and does not speak out against it. Sisi exists because his military is incredibly powerful in silencing
so
the
just
public.
contingent on the human rights abuses advantage?
What do you mean?
Wait, so it's just contingent on the like human rights?
I mean, like, sure, the uniqueness in the human rights advantage probably contextualizes that impact a little more, but it is generally about the US funding of the regime.
Okay, and then on the first impact, you have an econ, you have like econ advantages coming out of Hamid 1220. Like what's the impact?
So the Hamid evidence just kind of contextualizes the impact as something that will be cyclical, absent any sort of action from the US. If the US does not disengage,
So does,
Egypt will
does
continue
the
to
size
collapse.
of the impact increase over time?
Yes.
And then, how do you solve human rights abuses?
Sure. So there are like 2 or 3 pieces of solvency in the app. One is that just the most direct piece of solvency is that a lack of funding to the military would cripple Sisi's regime. That is the hard-time evidence and the last piece of all area evidence.
Wait, so if Sisi's regime falls and then the military is swept, or
No. The military itself falls apart. Second is a sort of perceptual solvency that when the U.S. stops greenlighting these policies and stops donating, it sort of takes a stance on the global stage that this sort of behavior is unacceptable. Sisi will be forced to change his behavior if his regime does not collapse in order to continue receiving aids in other parts of the economy or things like that.
okay, starting. Do you want to meet executive?
What's the order?
2 LPs. And then on the app, it's going to be like top down.
Cool.
Everyone good? Interpretation affirmations may not specify which authoritarian regime or regimes ought not receive military aid. The violations that may specify each of one, submission for Article 4 of the authoritarian regime in the resolution for the child concerns regime as a general classification alternatively with 11. The definite articles omitted for announced representing general categories and vote on jurisdiction not to be in the attendance by certain following for said resolution wording the judge cannot vote as the orderly was not an average constraint on any after judge decision. T rule for second for not harmful for the military. Pick trivially true positions always every time. 2 limits their access and remember after the judge choose any authoritarian regime. Skip 75 miles for 2 minutes impossible. You find making kills valid twice in severe as well to see force between trade off between school family and crime. Africa to cherry picking kind of like the best offense models with limited interference and prevents for fair and even cherry picking out TVA stalls and just the authoritarian regime features an advantage of the cool resident get to win just as a link to other versus resolution 3. From these coverages scholarly analysis and non-Western countries too thin you have robots arguments running against military to each authoritarian regime creates miseducations and network requirement to read generic terms and CVs that are abstract from political specifics and trying to or will have to uplayer rating these because the arguments substitute answers to gather and getting details of the education news good round off the counter to next voters. Next voters, education voters, and has long standard on independent reason by schools. 1B, using competing interests. 1, reasonable every even cause of judgment prevention and judge arbitrarily or specifically between classes competing interests because we end up debating with the right is 2, competing interests causes better more than improving the fairness of the fairness rule. 3, reasonably versus reactive on improving debaters to the activity and get away with defense. 4, competing interests on Jan-Fed topics specifically cases to put on the beginning rounds. You have at the beginning of the topic set the direction for the investigators, especially important cases. This is the TOT topic. Next, no RBIs. 1, logic. It doesn't make sense to reward them just for freedom of your topic being topical is necessary but insufficient to winning is necessary but insufficient to winning the round. Logic comes first because it's often worth considering the judge's decision and in debate is in the viewpoints the debate is founded on logic because if we're not using logic to assess our decisions we're basically voting arbitrarily. Second is no RBI the second is no RBI is not having RBIs deters for frivolous theory because if there are RBIs for theory will be abusive justice when will be abusive justice when the counter of John Waste because we would have abuse plus a bad theory debate which outweighs any other frivolous theory which deterrence argument now. And next up. Also like drop the debater, the argument is their entire advocacy, dropping the advocate exactly vote now. Next up. Hedges stable now but indeed because Trump being Trump Stokes 18. The post-war global international order has been a largely U.S. creation. Washington's consensus on global empire rating petition has held under very strategic preconditions of promise and pacifying towards the global entrapment as Trump has actually increased the rate of the questioning during U.S. Global security alliances. The advocacy of an economic nationalism threatened to reverse globalization evenly dismissed Trump's statements as rhetoric his capacity to motivate millions to vote for him, signal of weakening of the post-war global consensus, rejecting the TPP, seeking to reverse NAFTA as security partners on notice the U.S., asking why should remain the most hegemonic stabilizer, the cost of the benefits, and cutting military to Egypt, desperate escalations in the regions and any chance of peace in Egypt Phillips 13. Cut back in military is likely to trigger anti-American backlash in Egypt, undermining a reputation as a political ally and something the decline of U.S. influence in the Mideast. A cut is likely to further erode American influence in Egypt, risk roughly ties to Egypt's military shares American concerns about Islamic extremism and also the best hope eventually salvaging a stable democratic system in Egypt. The U.S. should not abandon long-term allies in response to violence, totally humiliating Egypt's military-backed government who further backlash against U.S. undermining Egyptian compliance with the 1979 peace treaty with Israel that runs against the express interests of U.S. allies and long-term U.S. interests, and cutting foreign aid is the epitome of what our allies hate about Trump's decks. U.S. hedging loss for Chinese oil Metzger Smith 17. The decision to cut foreign aid will inevitably undermine the United States' ability to preserve its hegemonic status against China, frustrating important allies to doubt the reliability of American confidence going forward. Foreign aid has also been issued to stabilize regions, develop potential allies, and strengthen influence. The U.S. being the biggest donor has been perceived as a vital important partner in reducing foreign aid effects, trust of partners, as well as recipients that are disappointed by the volatile behavior of the Trump administration. It will be hard for America to project the image of reliable and trustworthy partners. Development countries to U.S. return away from the U.S. losing China remains the hegemonic status of the U.S. When the U.S. cuts foreign aid, might not be easily able to re-enter multilateral cooperation to secure issues of solutions for global challenges. And for further double that, U.S. nation key friendly with political German armed forces, multilateralism can solve Brands 15. U.S. influence and international stability are thoroughly interwoven with the robust U.S. border trust. The United States is using influence for defining security posture of allies to pursue nuclear weapons, limited armed forces security competition by providing protection that allows other countries to undergo their military, moving the American pacifier, removing the more safe places, including the U.S. policies for useless stable countries, secure rises in regional orders in the government, possibly feel empowered to reserve their interest in removing the American pacifier would likely yield increased conflict and people start to imagine that increasing stability would produce the cooperation necessary to deal with transnational threats and pandemics to piracy and solve extinction. One of the listed examples bear of this historical moment's most amazing feature is a lack of mass violence. The U.S. military system for basic feasible has never there be no identifiable civilization. The black one seems under the question. Instead, America stepped up by ushering in big power into the international global trade wars forever. Following the explosion of democracy, spread of human rights, liberation, and women doubling of life expectancy, increasing global GDP from reduction down like populations of 99% relative dropping down to we're headed for a global multipolarity. We do all the years power now. Outweighs all three impacts. One, reversible is impossible to reverse this of death. We cannot come back from it. We can't come back from life, and we can restore human rights. So people can go back to their lives. Second on scope, extinction threats and extinction, and that's why the amount of people use have the power to kill many people at once. So they're much more efficient than things like human rights. Or economic decline. Third is internal link to the impacts. Hatch has a one-to-one link to has a one-to-one link to nuclear use. There are multiple internal links that they were trying to explain in process about how cutting need increases the strength of the military and then causes the like perceptual decrease. There are too many internal links, which also means that I have a much better probability link here now in the AC. On the top of the AC, they say they can run your theory on the E brings 1. There's no infinite because we only have 7 minutes in the 1 AC. 2, the NC response to the AC and the AC constraints with the direction of the 1 AC, so all negatives is justified by the AC. 3, atoms that waste negatives, they have to first unless which and the fact that they get to pivot twice means that any abuse that happens in the AC gets multiplied more times than negatives. And also on the crossroads in 1, there's no 2-1 times there's no 2-1 T each either you're arguing T2. This is not a structural form of these. You chose not to talk about to be on there. That answering T is not something that you have chosen. These times you there's a 6-1 times you with 1. There's no time, so you just have to have better time on teaching the 1 year and 2 year, and these are plus effectively 2. You have a 7-6 times because you can add up the 1 year and the 2 year, and 3 you 3 that has to split the 2 year anyways, and 3 that has to split the 2 year anyways. Now on the impacts of the top, now the impacts of the top of the AC on the all or in 1 evidence 1 you cannot you cannot solve any of your impact because you have because all your internal links are just perception based on the Hamed 1220 evidence 1. There's no impact of it. There's no impact to evidence. There are no deaths or violence that are happening because we have had like an economic decline in the past and it's not like continuing.
Yeah, okay. Let's start on the disad. So the Phillips evidence indicates that cutting aid is bad. 1, did the NC disagree with any of the impacts of the AC? Or like contributed like defense to the impacts of the AC?
There's defense on the Hamed 12.
Is there aid to Egypt in the status quo?
Your plan indicates that there used to not be aid. There has been some aid given now, but it's been for a short time.
Okay, so if there's aid now and Egypt is in turmoil now, how is cutting aid bad?
Because aid is doing something bad.
Aid is doing something bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
Let's go to the Messerschmitt evidence. So 1, is China investing in Egypt right now? Okay.
The argument is just that if the U.S. leaves, obviously it brings up the fact whether or not China is interested.
Where does the Messerschmitt evidence indicate that China would specifically invest in Egypt?
Preserve its hegemonic status against China for trade important allies who doubt the reliability of American confidence going forward. Insofar as Egypt is an ally who works with the U.S. because they perceive us to be reliable, that means that Egypt is one of the people who will be effective.
This evidence all seems to be in the context of foreign aid. Where does it indicate that China would step in and give Egypt military aid? Like, why is giving Egypt aid in terms of like trade and investment and tourism a bad thing? Why is China giving them military aid?
The evidence is very good on this question. It says cutback in military aid is likely to trigger anti-American backlash in Egypt. Do you want me to read the rest of it?
Okay, that's fine. Let's go to the like impact stuff. So the Brand's evidence says that like U.S. hedge is key to extinction, or is key to prevent extinction. So like 1, why? Like in the status quo, why is U.S. hedge good?
2 internal links. The first is like a deterrence effect. So the fact that the U.S. has a strong military has led other countries to underbuild their militaries and decrease the capacity of the militaries because they know the U.S. will step in, or they know that the presence of the U.S. is going to make it so that they will not actually have to use their militaries. The second argument is about multilateral cooperation. The fact that the U.S. has a strong military has allowed it to use that as leverage against other countries as in order to secure deliberation and solutions instead of like.
That's fine. Let's go to Michelle. If jurisdiction is a voter, why do judges still vote on non-TFs?
Because they're not being consistent with what they should do.
Who says that judges should do something?
Me and the intern.
Okay, that's fine. The limits argument, or rather the ground argument, what is this argument about non-Western countries not having literature?
Because there's not, the argument is that because scholarly literature is so focused on the U.S., there's not good literature about political situations in other countries that are accessible to English readers.
Okay. Start right. What were the arguments about, like, the Interlake arguments?
On which one? Like internal theory or
The Interlake arguments on the DISAC, like the Barrett, under the Barrett evidence?
they're what?
Under the Barrett evidence? Like, it was like weighing arguments? Why is the DISAC Interlake to the case?
First, there was reversibility. Extinction cannot be undone. You can undo like human rights because it's like self-caused problems in the countries. The second was scope. Extinction affects everyone. You impact or constrain to one country, but this scenario can be decided as nuclear. It goes regional.
Okay.
And then the third is like probability. You have multiple internal links, but mine is just literally one-to-one hedge, like causes like a loss in ability to deter new persons.
Okay. Cool. 158 views. The order is T, case, is that. Sending out the doc.
Can you say T case to sad?
Yes. Right. You know what? Everything's good. Right. Are you good?
Sorry, it's like.
Counter-interpretation, the advocate specified an authoritarian regime if it's disclosed as a sovereignty advocate that solves all their offense. Sovereignty advocate indicates it's a big issue in the literature, and the ground exists against it. You should be prepared for it. Disclosure also means you can cut answers to it before the round splits. It's been disclosed for 3 days. Debt, benefits versus class. Plain focus is key to debt education, so we learn about one specific issue on the topic that incentivizes debaters to have better arguments. We have a more specific stance to point of precedence. Whole rest just leads to random dissents passing in the night that clash always limits its hard workers to prep all the F's on our unlimited topic, but can't debate an unworkable topic. That's key to education since we incentivize the best arguments on the topic that education always fairness since it's the only portable skill we can get from debate. Our fairness always is not unique since coaching and money and every two debates also we care about fairness means it's flip a coin, which means it's not a voter. Second is advocacy. Each authoritarian regime is distinct, so ask and do like offense are redefining what they defend, killing fairness, and getting into tier all 6. Results that different types of authoritarian regimes face different propensities arriving to develop towards democracy, hence the institutional attribute, the nature of the authoritarian regime in question is to be added to the list of democracy's essential preconditions, the shall proper. The semantics argument 1, specification is semantically consistent with the resolution. Generic statements allow for specification. Leslie 11 generic statements in the doctrine manuals express general claims do not involve quantifiers. Generics can be expressed in definite singulars. Second, all the jurisdiction arguments are empirically denied. Judges vote on non-TIs. Judges vote on non-TIs all the time. Third, multiple ways to define what words mean in the topic means we just use pragmatics as a tiebreaker. Otherwise, it's impossible to weigh between different correct grammatical interpretation. The limits offense 1, turn, they get infinite picks, which outweighs since we 6 minutes of 1 is the office causing a 1 AR restart, which causes time to in their favor. 2, no infinite caseless. 8 point, maybe this is true in an ideal world. But research time in 2 months on the topic constrains us from going too far from stock arguments and functional limits. Check, there may be infinite apps, but there are infinite app advantages with large enough impacts to solvency advocates so that counter-measure would necessarily rectify all their offense. Third is not unique. I can read all this apps as separate advantages. If you would have response to my app, you would not have response to the advantage in either. The ground arguments 1, turn, they get a higher quality ground. Whole rest incentivizes steel debate that work was not above. Second, no impact. They still get generic and season case to check. Also, they literally had to dissent against this after whole rest gives them too much ground to drive out specific advantages, which kills the strategic benefits of specific prep. Also, the ground argument hinges on this idea that only Western countries have literature read against them. This is an independent rest. This idea we should only debate about the idea that we should only debate about Western countries forecloses the possibility of debating about things like about things like what's happening in Egypt right now, which is what causes these cycles to perpetuate, which is also added offense for the YC advantage. The case been almost entirely conceded. Under CC, Egypt is headed towards disaster as military backers regime silences any dissent through torture and execution while engaging in quiet wars throughout the region. Meanwhile, the economy is collapsing. The impact is mass violence, regional instability, and Middle Eastern escalation that outweighs and turns the dissent. 1 is strength of link because all the offense was functionally conceded. Also turns the internal link to the dissent insofar as the all-area evidence indicates this sort of insofar as the all-area evidence isolates this sort of perception advantage. The world thinks the U.S. is weak because we continue to give aid regardless of whether we say people should be authoritarian or not, which takes out all of your hedge arguments. The Cohen evidence on the honor view went straight conceded. You should give a lot of credence to time frame probability being more important, more realistic than magnitude, because it's more reflective of real world debate. B point, the app outweighs on time frame probability because it literally happened because the impacts are happening in the status quo. Your only arguments against the case is that we can't solve all the arguments because it's just perception. 1 is we have direct solvency. Taking the funding of the military takes out their ability to engage in these sort of acts. Second, we have empirical solvency. This has happened before when we drew aid, solved back for Egyptian corruption. We're going for the Holland impact, which means it doesn't apply to this act. 1, it's not in the first impact is not in China pumped so much into Egypt already, so the U.S. is saying it really matters. Egypt today, level 13. Chinese investment in Brazil reached 15 billion agreements and contracts more than 18 billion were signed between the Egyptian government and China in September. Cut the card in September. The uniqueness evidence overwhelms the link. Their uniqueness indicates that Trump is endangering hedge, which means that hedge is going to fall apart regardless of Egypt. The link, the Phillips evidence, 1 is that the status quo disproves the entirety of the link. If the case is true and aid is what's causing all these problems, then cutting aid is obviously not bad, and aid is what's causing the demonization of the Egyptians in the first place. The impact evidence caused by the uniqueness overwhelms argument. Also, Egypt disproves there's U.S. hegemony in Egypt right now, but Egypt still sucks.
I have like
51. 151.
Thanks, Tess. It's going to be overview on T. Or, sorry, overview on T and then with the T to be starting with the intergroup counter.
Can you say that one more time?
Overview on T, inter, counter, inter. Okay, everyone ready? There's a clear net battle. There's a clear net battle on top of how there's no organizing team, which means that they have to win which means that as long as I win a risk of offense to the as long as I win a risk of offense on the team, then you should automatically compete. They're also they continue competing which means that they have to win offense to counter in order to proactively justify ignoring the saying in order to proactively justify ignoring the saying for debate. Now I'm collapsing down to the semantics and extend the ultra-link by 11 evidence. So when extend the ultra-link by 11 evidence, there's not an article in the resolution before the word authoritarian, which means that the resolution indicates that authoritarian regimes is a generic. They should not be allowed to specify an instance or a subset of authoritarian regimes because generic nouns are non-count. Now they have a couple responses to this. The first is that there's no impact to jurisdiction, but no, it is simply warned when I say that jurisdiction is an often very constrained on the judge's decision. The judge voting happens if they are affirming the resolution, which they cannot do if they're literally is not an which means and affirming the resolution means that you have to be consistent with the it means that you have to be consistent with the intent of the resolution, which is contextualized by the interpretation by the ultra-link by 11 evidence. Also they see that judges vote on non-TFs all the time, but no, voting on non-TFs is proof that judges are not meeting the jurisdiction vote. It doesn't prove that there's no impact that there's no impact to jurisdiction. Sure, judges are not breaking down debate, but they are still conceding the court that judges are not meeting their constitutive function as an adjudicator, which is to either vote out, which is to either sign a battle for the out or neck. Finally extend its semantics as an impact filter. Topicality is a yes no question of whether they are defending the resolution, and semantics is the lens through which you have to view through which you have to adjudicate that question. Semantics constrains pragmatics. Semantics constrains pragmatics. Semantics simply rigorous constraint on whether you're actually affirming the resolution. You have to pull them down. You have to pull them to the text of the resolution, the text of the interpretation, which means that just because there might be good things, or just because even what they are doing is good, it's still not affirming the resolution. Therefore, it's not sufficient for you to vote out. This also means that presumption flows next. Even if I listen something on the TV, there still was not an act that you could vote on, which means that in the absence of offense, you should still be indicating also. Now for the standards weighing debate, the only offense they have is pragmatic offense. They have flash in ground, which both of those are pragmatic standards because those don't show that what they are doing is actually affirming the resolution. It only proves that they are doing something that is good. So I'll just weigh semantics. So I'll weigh semantics against them. First, semantics outweighs any offense they may have on the standard one. Semantic constraints the limits of the topics because it's impossible to be over-limiting or under-limiting if you are consistent with the semantic interpretation. If you're consistent with the semantic interpretation, so control can turn leads to limit standard. Second is reversibility. Limits can be second is reversibility. Offensive limits can be resolved by having more trouble. Semantics cannot be resolved. But semantics cannot be resolved if you literally just did not defend the resolution. You can also extend a TDA coming out. Of the limit standards where they have completely conceded, which solves all the offensive counter. We can get clash if they read advantages to if they read the full result some advantages under it, and then I can respond with this. They see that this is like ships crossing paths in the night. No, this is a good example of why that's not the case. Even though the design doesn't align with the easy perfectly, you're still able to exert impact to retrain each other, Also, a net benefit to the net benefit to the TVA is that it forces us to do good weighing because those TVAs are shifts happening tonight, and also weighing is a more important skill because it's a more important skill than just cutting cards and answering someone's out, because weighing is a portable skill and forces us to think on our feet during rather than something that's actively used around rather than passively used outside of boundaries, which shows that there's no disadvantage to the TV, and also takes out their caution here, and also finally on the Leslie evidence on semantics, their evidence just does not do anything. They miscut the evidence, saying that that dogs or mammals express general things, which doesn't involve quantifiers, but generic can be expressed using definite singulars. That doesn't. Leslie is not making the argument that definite singulars are the same as generic third plurals. In fact, right after the word definite singulars, Leslie says the dog is a mammal, which shows that as an example of a definite singular, but there's the word the before dog, which shows contradicts which shows that it just doesn't clash with the Ultralingua 11 evidence, because Ultralingua says that when there is not an article before the word authoritarian regime in the resolution, then that proves it's a generic third plural. But in this example, the article the is before the word dog, which shows that Leslie's example does not comport with the Ultralingua 11 evidence. So they don't know. So at the point where they have no semantic justification for what they are doing, it's not the norms that they are introducing into debate. You should look down on semantics. Semantics is the highest level of constraint. You can see that the AC don't let them make new and two-layer arguments for why pragmatics is important. Even if they win that there's a big magnitude or a big scope of any of your standard, they still have not conceded why they should even be evaluated on the same layer as semantics. So the decision is very clear. You should sign your ballot on topicality. Semantics is functionally conceded. No spin on the evidence. You should protect the two-layer extrapolations, because they had their chance multiple times in the debate to establish and defend what they are saying. It's game over on semantics.
Sure, Brett. What is the argument about constraining about how semantics constrains pragmatics?
Yeah. So underneath a pragmatic interpretation of the topic, it makes sense to talk about over-limiting and under-limiting arguments, because then under that interpretation, it assumes that there can be multiple ways that you interpret the topic. Under semantics, there is only one correct way to interpret the topic, which means that limits are not even a question, the topic just is, and you accept it without complaining.
Okay. Is semantics like an independent voter?
Yeah, it's tapped up in these dependencies. The order is case T starting with counter insert and the insert. There will be like an overview on T again. Everyone good?
the case might continue. You'll be voting on substance. Egypt is currently under CC regime. It sponsors mass execution, torture, and violence, causing instability, war, taking the economy. The plan solves by cutting the military's primary source of funding and setting a signal to the world that Egypt needs to be stopped. T. Big framing issue to the entirety of the T debate. The two would argue no weighing between semantics and education as different voters for the round. If we win that education comes first, if we win a risk of offense under education, then the T debate entirely goes away. All your arguments about all your semantic weighing arguments are weighing between semantics and pragmatics. But if we win that education is more valuable and more important to debate than semantics, then all the arguments go away. The counter. Extend the class standard. Plain focus is key to depth of education. Our counter interpretation indicates that we may specify an authoritarian regime. Specifying regime allows us to form a stasis point about which we can prep for the resolution, which is net better than the role of the interpretation. The role of the interpretation we just are forced to read. We are forced to read generic dis as in generic critiques or whole res dis as a passive that do not interact with the what you see whatsoever. This form of education is the form of education that the counter interpretation promotes is net better than the form of education that the interpretation promotes. You conceded all the embedded weighing that the one year had about how class is key to education because we incentivize the best arguments on the topic. Given that we only have 2 months and given that we only have 2 months to debate about the topic education regarding class outweighs any of their semantic arguments. Your only weighing arguments in response to class are just that you can weigh in the world of the interpretation, but our form of education is better. Education is more important than semantics. It's portable and actually leaves with us after we finish debating all your semantics arguments. Just unique to debate. You conceded reasons in the 1 AR as to why education is a prior question to anything else, and it's the only portable skill we get from debate. So regardless of whether the 1AC is semantically in line with the topic or not, education is the only portable skill which outweighs both their constraints and reversibility arguments here. With the two weighing arguments, you say semantics constraints pragmatics. A point is that this is using your winning semantics. B point is that this is just untrue. We can prove that even under your semantic interpretation of the resolution, you still limit the advantage areas for the odds. You say it outweighs on reversibility, but there's literally no implication to reversibility. You should be really wary of voting negative because they did not read a drop the debater implication. They did not send a drop the debater implication in the 2 hours means you can just vote on the link turns to the decide even if it win or they did not read any implications whatsoever in the 2 hours so topicality should just go away. Insert proper. All we have to do is answer this topical version of the affirmative. They continue the argument on limits is not unique because I could read different advantages that you don't have preparation against. The topical version of the affirmative would not solve any of your offense. Also, a topical version of the affirmative doesn't outweigh or still fall straight to the same exact clash arguments that we're making. Look, we're winning on the reasons that's why education comes before semantics. Clash outweighs semantics, which means vote on substance. Good move.